Like, do you do anything but live stream, dude? Yeah, I think 59 live streams, and that's almost 2 live streams a day. Some people put a lot of effort into live streams. That just means I played 2 games that day. Yeah, I'm starting. I've only been home from work. I've been off work 42 minutes, and I have started my second live stream today. If I turn on my PlayStation, I just live stream it. Whatever I'm playing, I just live stream it. Yeah, I hit the like into any of the games I'm playing. It's like some people like, for instance, this game. A lot of people would not like this game. A lot of people wouldn't even like watching it. Oh, dude, did you see the videos I posted of the racing I went to last week on Saturday? Yeah, dude, right in front of us too. I was like, I know why the Speedrome left the tire on the track the way they did. They just got done with a massive cleanup. Car started spraying oil or something, and it started going into turn 3, all the way through 3, all the way through 4, all the way down the front stretch and into turn 1. So they just had a massive cleanup they just did. Like cars were spinning out going into the corner. When the guy hit the tire, a bunch of water sloshed out of it. And when the tire slid forward, it was sitting over top of the puddle that they were going to have to clean. So it was just easier to leave the tire on the edge of the track as the drivers were making their way around it instead of trying to clean it up. Well, the one guy got pushed into the tire. They kind of edged him out. It sucked for him. Now, what I didn't get was when they flipped his car back over, he was still in the car when they flipped it back on its wheels. They wouldn't allow him to continue racing because the windshield was broke. So he gets out of the car, stands on top of it, and just jumping around with his hands in the air, like cheering. Yeah, they tried. He was a bigger guy, and his weight sitting on the 5 point harness. They checked his health, found out he was okay. He wasn't injured. So they gave him the option of, we can attempt to pull you out. We'll probably have to cut your 5 point harness, or we can flip the car over with you in it. And it's like, if it was me, I'd be like, just flip it over. If this thing starts, I'll pull a Dale Earnhardt. It's still got 4 wheels on it. Let's go. See if it fires up. Earnhardt rolled one down the backstretch one time, and that's what he said when he was in the ambulance. He's like, wait a minute, that car looks like it still has 4 wheels on it. See if it'll start. He took off and kept on racing. But yeah, this guy, his windshield was broken pretty bad. So, but there was one of the adult fast carts. Adult fast carts, basically a souped up go kart with a roll cage. Um, but it was one of the adult fast carts ended up on its top. They flipped it back over, and it had something broken on the steering, so it couldn't go. But I have seen them flip them back over, start them up, and keep driving. I have never seen them allow me to repair a push rod on this. Video of the Jeep. Oh, you may have sent it while I was at work. Oh, that car that was zipping in and out of traffic and then was swerving. He just comes up and gave him a little bit of bumper love. Just boom. He moves out of the way like, what the hell? The Jeep just drives off. Like a guy, I think it was an Audi. I think it was a white car. It was definitely a white car. But yeah, the guy in the car, I don't think he knew what happened. It's like, well, it's called fuck around and find out. That's what happened. That play stupid games, win stupid prizes. No, it didn't. It just, dude, I've hit rocks with my Jeep harder than that when I was off roading. I've taken my Jeep to an off road park before, and I've hit rocks harder than that with mine. You work today? Right on. Big plans with the kids this weekend? Get yourself a some paraffin wax. Paraffin wax, the wax you use to make candles out of. You can buy like small blocks of it, shave it down like a pencil, and use it like a crayon, and you can draw on the egg. And whatever you draw on the egg, when you go to dye it, you dip it in the vinegar and dye. And when you pull it out, that will still be white. I hope that was the right part. Do what? What's that? Yeah. Some of those guys don't have that much money. They've got everything they've got's wrapped up in a car. Meh. It's not always about the car. It's not always about the car. Like, I just got lucky when I got my Jeep. I went onto the lot and I told the guy, it's like I was driving a um what was it called? A Jeep Grand Cherokee. And I pulled it onto the lot and I told him there's something wrong with it. And I straight up told the guy, it's like there's something wrong with it. It's I can't drive from Lebanon to Lafayette without it dying and having to wait for it to cool off partway through. later I found out what the issue was, but I told him, he's like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm not taking this home. You're selling me a car today. And it was the same guy that I sold me the Cherokee, and I had the Cherokee for like 5 years, 5 or 6 years. So it's not like it was something I was just, oh, I don't like this, I want something else. No, I kept it for a long time. And it's actually my older sister, Angie. It's her fiance's cousin was the guy at the lot. And I told him, he's like, here's what I'm having issues with. Here's what's wrong with the car. As like, I want something different. He's like, well, if you could have anything on the lot, what would you want? A Jeep Wrangler? He's like, okay. I was like, I understand. I'm probably not going to be able to afford a Wrangler because they're expensive. So we got in one. We were around, test drove a few and stuff, and looked at a bunch. And then he come back, and the one we were test driving was the one I ended up buying. Like the one we were driving around to all the other lots is the one I ended up buying. I told him, honestly, of all of them you've showed me, I like this one the best. 2-door, hard top with a 6-speed. So he went and said something to his manager, and his manager said, I don't care what it takes. Get that Jeep off my lot. I'm tired of paying taxes on it. Mind you, this was on Black Friday in 2016. They got the Jeep in August of 2015. The thing had been sitting on the lot for a year and 2 months, and they couldn't sell it because nobody knows how to drive a stick. Nobody wants a 2-door with a hard top. They want a 2-door with a soft top or a 4-door with a hard top, and they all want automatics. Nobody wants a stick. So they couldn't sell the thing. I was the first person to actually show interest in it in over a year. So he's like, get rid of it. So he ran the numbers and everything, and I knew I couldn't afford it at the full price. So they knocked it in half. They sold me the thing for half off. I got a $24,000 Jeep for $12,900. It's like, I definitely ain't complaining about that. That's for sure. On this game, I've got a V10 out of a Viper right now that I'm rebuilding and upgrading. See how many horsepower I can get this thing to push. But yeah, I don't have a Viper on the game yet. I'm sitting at over 1.5 mils, so I've got enough I can splurge on a car for my garage. But yeah, if it wasn't for that Jeep being that cheap, I wouldn't have got it. I would have. It's like, even if he would have said, the only thing we can get you in is this whole car over here, I would have taken it. So what I found out what was going on, there's a ceramic coating on the exhaust manifold of the inline six that the Cherokee had, and the ceramic coating is supposed to keep the heat from messing with the intake. The ceramic coating worn off over the years. If I would have went and got that, that tape they put on headers for race cars? Still there, Joe? Yeah. If I would have got that tape they put on headers for race cars and wrapped my exhaust with that, it would have solved the problem. Sometimes. Man, I had someone else tell me that the other day when I was on Discord. I've been on light duty since Halloween. I jammed my shoulder up pretty good. Aside from that, it's all right. Huh? Do you know what a pyramid pick is? It's like if you come up to a pallet, you're supposed to pick the pallet from the top down. If you pick it from the front to the back, it's called a pyramid pick. It makes the pallet unstable. It's more difficult getting boxes off of it and stuff. You're not supposed to do that. Someone had pyramid picked this pallet, and it was like these 30 some pound boxes. And this pallet was sketchy looking. So if I went and just pulled it down, it probably would have broke the pallet that I was pulling it down on. And then it ended up dropping me, and I was up on like the fifth level, so I would have had a nice little fall. So I tried to catch the pallet, and I shouldn't have. Or I tried to catch the box, and I shouldn't have, and it blew my shoulder out. So someone else did their job wrong, and I paid the consequences for it. A headache, not even time off. I'm still working. I'm just on light duty. Like I get to do an easier job. I don't have to do any lifting or anything at work right now. But overall, it's a pain in the butt. Because like I'm only allowed to lift like a total of 30 pounds if I'm using, and I have to go to physical therapy twice a week at an hour and a half each time. So that's 3 hours of my time that I have to take out. And then like I had to take a vacation day for tomorrow, or I wouldn't get paid for going to my doctor's appointment. That's for the screwed up shoulder. Yeah, I need to get a hold of the case manager and see if I can get them to reimburse me for all this time I'm putting into it. Because you're talking 3 hours a week from Halloween. That's a lot of time. Man, if they just compensate me for the time I'm investing into this, driving a half hour to the doctor's appointment, so compensate me for the time and for that, and for having to go over here to physical therapy at 3 hours a week, compensate me for that, make it worth it. Otherwise, man, I'm just getting tired of going. Have you ever heard of something called intermittent FMLA for your kid? Yeah, I'm on that for a disease that I've got. I got a disease that's I'm only allowed to take up to 7 days, and so I can take uh, once a month, which kind of sucks because once you use it, like if I, like for instance, at the beginning of this month, I only needed 2 days. If I end up needing it again this month, I can't take any more time. I have to wait until next month before I can take any more. Yeah. Well, with this, you have to reapply every year for it. It's like basically you just have to have the doctor do the paperwork every year. Hmm. So I the insurance company at my FMLA through has suggested that I get my doctor to fill it back out, and this time instead of doing one incident a month for up to 7 days, they suggest it be at 7 incidents a month for 1 day each. So basically, if I had to use two at the beginning of the month, if I have to use another one before the month's out, I've still got 5 more days I could take. And it's still the same 7 days a month. It just allows me, and for instance, March, I had to use it at the beginning of the month. I needed it at the end of the month, but I didn't have it. So I just had to suffer through work with it. Right on. You take it easy, man. Thanks for chatting for a bit. Yep.
Super simple. Workout A, bench press, 3 sets, deadlift, 3 sets. That's it. Leave. Be done. Workout B, overhead press, squats, boom, be done. You're still going to hit it. Is it going to be ideal? No, but it's going to be more than enough for you to maintain joint health, integrity, have some strength benefits, and have that progressive overload. So if you really don't believe that you'll stick with it unless it's super, super, super short, then just do that. Start with that, and then you can add to it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I was going to say that my story is very similar on lifting. I have 3 kids right now. Obviously, we do what we do here, and that takes a lot of effort and energy to do all of that. And then
Sure.
you've got kids, and you don't want to be gone for too long during the day. I don't have an hour to go and work out most of the time. Sometimes I do, but most of the time, I just couldn't see myself doing that. I used to do cycling, but by the time you get there, do the thing, come back, it's 2.5 to 3 hours.
Right.
I don't really have that kind of time, especially away from my kids on a Saturday. I don't really want to be
Plus,
with
it's gay.
that time. You said a cycling session a minute ago, and now when I say it, it's
Yeah, you burn calories. You burn calories if you're
That's
banging
about
a bunch of guys, too.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that it's gay.
okay. But I was able to commit to doing bench, squat, and rows. Those 3 things. I was like, all right, with the injuries that I've had, bench, squat, rows, and I'm just going to start super light. I even made fun of myself because I was benching what I was squatting to start out with.
Well, that's more because you lacked self-confidence because of your knees and stuff. You were stronger than you had had more strength than you had faith in your ability.
Yeah, I was very much concerned that I would be injured, but I thought, okay, I'll take that into account because I probably won't continue if I do hurt myself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start out really low and just kind of be consistent. It takes me between 30 and 45 minutes to do that. If I want to take a little more time, I can. But now that I've done it, I don't, like, there are days where I look at Tim, I'm like, you lifting? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I really don't want to, but I'll do it.
That's why I do it in the morning before the show, because I know myself well enough to know that after doing the show, I'm so tired that I won't be able to. And also it's too much at that point. It's too big of a variable where I could be 30% weaker this day just because the show went late and it was exhausting and there was something wrong. So I got to get it done in the morning. And mine's largely focused around conserving energy. It's like, what can I do without spending myself? And I went a period of about 1.5 years where at least a year where I was training twice a week, about on average 22 minutes and no more.
Yeah.
And I said, what can I do to reduce this to the minimum effective dose? And I was actually able to maintain most and still get stronger, not much.
Yeah.
But I wasn't losing.
Yeah.
So there are ways. Now there's a difference between optimal and minimal effective dose.
Start out practical first, I think, and especially in these situations where you're like, man, the motivation. When that's what you're looking at, it's okay. Bare bones it. Just do only what you can commit to doing, and just do it. Don't think about it. Don't try to come up with. Just do it, and make sure that you do it for, what is it? They say you have to do something for 28 days or 21 days to make it a habit. Whatever the heck it is, it could be different for you. Just do it, and when you start seeing those results, like you're getting somewhat stronger, that motivation kind of kicks in there for me when I start to see some result. Now, I'm getting to the point where Tim's just heckling me, and that's basically what's making me add weight.
Good for you. We have to maintain the standards of abusive work environment.
No, he went up in squat. He used to stop at 315, and now he hit 365 yesterday.
Yeah, Gerald's stronger than his confidence level. He's just, which is fine. Also, as a tall guy too, it's going to be tougher. I mean, compared to you, no offense, but compared to you, it's like a hydraulic press. He's going all the way up and down. Yours,
yeah,
it's not the same thing.
It's much of a travel,
but I will say this though too is like, I hate the barrier to entry thing. And look, I'm no world beater at all. I stay within striking distance of being in shape. Sometimes I'm fatter, sometimes I'm stronger, sometimes it depends. But yet people like Arnold who are like, I train 2 times a day, 2 hours each session.
Right.
BS, he didn't. And he was loaded with steroids. As a matter of fact, the only reason for Arnold, not the only, but the primary reason for Arnold's success is that he was willing to experiment with new designer steroids that people were scared to take because they didn't know the long-term health effects at that point in time. And then same thing, like I won't mention this name because it's someone who is in the conservative space and has been in the show. But I remember it was at a firearm conference, and he was telling people, he goes, look, I practice, being in the military, I practice with my firearm 6 days a week, 2 hours, and if you're not doing that minimum, you might as well not have it. And I said, are you out of your mind? No one is going to do that. You want to tell the old lady here, or let's say a middle-aged lady who's working and has kids that she needs 2 hours a day, 6 days a week? You know what? I would say she's better off provided the firearm is safely stored. Stopbox.com/Crowder. You can go there. She has a revolver and she puts it in there in her nightstand. She's still better off having it if she only goes to the range once a month than not. I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. Just like you have these people now who are fitness influencers and you need to get 12 sets per body part per.
No.
Okay, Dorian Yates, the biggest man you've ever seen in your life. Was he on steroids? Sure. He trained 4 days a week, 40 minutes. That was it. Could he have done it better? Maybe. But it was good enough to be the biggest man on earth. They called him the Shadow, okay? So my point is, you can, and people get so nerdy about this, like, we know what is required. If you train 2 times a week, 3 times a week, you're consistent, progressive overload. It's about proximity to failure, progressive overload. Count your calories. You will get stronger. You will feel better. With MS, I would say, be mindful of your recovery. Don't push it too far because you actually do have a condition where, your recovery may be impeded. But sounds to me like, honestly, I don't know you, but I'm proud of you. Losing weight when having been diagnosed with MS, that is not easy. A lot of people would just give up and throw themselves a pity party. So you may not have the motivation, you may not want to do it, but you can do it because you've already done something that most people would instead make excuses
Right.
for. So good for you. And I mean that. Good for you. Just keep doing it.
One final thing is, and this is, trust me, this is not self-serving. The Jacked Up Fitness thing.
Oh, yeah.
If you can remove the time barrier, I've got to get up, I've got to go to the gym, I've got to work out in front of other people, I may not be doing things correctly,
Yeah.
I got to figure the. If you can simplify everything and have something in your home to be able to work out on, yeah, Jacked Up Fitness, those things are fantastic. They can do everything that you're going to need to do. And that, for me, it's because we have a gym here,
Yeah.
it makes it so simple. I literally just have my stuff. 2 minutes later, I'm beginning my workout. That
Yeah.
makes it really, really easy to commit to.
And I will say this too: their least expensive option, like the Power Rack. So if you don't have a lot of money, that still is a great deal with a lifetime warranty, 10, 12 gauge steel, and it still comes with a pulley that's plate loaded.
Yeah,
That's right.
which is great. We use.
Yeah. So you can still use it for you can still do most things that you could do in a gym with that. It's just not stack loaded. If you do have the money and convenience is most important, that Evolution fits into a corner. Everything opens toward the front, so it's specifically made for small spaces. You really do have everything you need where you would never need anything else, and their customer service is second to none. And I knew about them before they became a sponsor. So is it Jacked Up? They're not a sponsor. JackedUpFitness.com
Usually /Crowder.
usually /Crowder. Use the promo code Crowder. Just whatever. Send them an email if you go and buy it. But their baseline Power Rack is great. And then the Evolution for home. And if you want the Cadillac, you get the Pro, and that has everything. But most people don't need that in their home if you're just getting started. All right, next one. Namaste, Guru, Crowder, and Co. Meaning company. Thank you very much.
Now I'm Co.
Whenever I see Co, it makes me
I'm
think of
here.
Duluth Trader and Co. And I know that Co is short for company, but for some reason I always get a snapshot of something in my mind that just makes me think, is it company or corporate? No,
I think it's company.
this means company.
Company, corporation as well,
Could be
or is that
corporation. I don't know.
a different abbreviation?
Apparently they have
Normally
decent
it's
underwear.
CORP.
Duluth Trading. My brother.
Corp. Shut up with your 4 letters instead of 2.
Yeah.
We're going to replace you with a sexy chatbot.
Understandable.
No.
We just go to the chat bot and it's like mid-sentence, we're like, ooh, can't do that.
No. Noodles is irreplaceable. Have you felt his hands like a velvet?
The-
So, this says the TL semicolon DR of this is.
What does that mean? I've seen that a lot.
Timeline? What does DR mean?
It's
Too long
didn't read.
Oh,
Oh, didn't read.
It means
I was
I don't
way
have
off.
time for this.
I thought it was like timeline didn't read, like timeline was too long. All right, okay, well, you can admonish me. Admonish me. Admonish me like the dirty chatbot you are.
Admonished.
Oh, come on. Ara, you're too cruel to me. Okay,
You didn't know either.
the too long didn't read of this is, and they proceed to write 2 pages.
And this is the whittled down version.
Yeah.
It was 7.
I had a baby with a congenital heart defect. Very sorry. My in-laws and multiple medical professionals tried to get me to abort her. Screw them. I said no, and although I know it was the right thing to do, I'm having a hard time forgiving them, but also myself, because I feel like the heart defect is all my fault. After a miscarriage at 8 weeks in 2022, I got pregnant again at 34 in the fall of 2023. Early on, we found out there was a problem via ultrasound. We were given potential diagnosis of hydrops fetalis, Turner syndrome, and cystic hygroma. I'm not familiar with this, but the ultimately correct diagnosis was tricuspid atresia. This is a type of heart defect where she functionally has only one ventricle, basically half a heart. The surgeries are not curative and are only palliative, but there is a decent chance she will live a normal lifespan. That's great. I have asthma. I was prescribed Symbicort by my pulmonologist, and she straight up told me that it would be safe to use occasionally during pregnancy. I even looked up if there were concerns when using Symbicort during pregnancy, and there were none. I used it once when an early blizzard ticked off my asthma, and I couldn't get it to calm down any other way. This is my greatest regret. Symbicort is 2 drugs. If you look up the 2 individual drugs contained in the inhaler, formoterol is specifically associated with congenital heart defects at less than the maximum effective dose. Okay, before I continue, look. I'm not familiar with all these drugs, and I'm not familiar with all of these conditions, and I'm not familiar with your doctors. Okay? This is not your fault.
Yeah.
All right? To be clear, you were told by the people who you trust, who should have this information, that it was safe. You double-checked to verify that it was safe. You used it once, by the way, it doesn't matter if you used it once. You would have been well within your rights to use it often if you were told that it was safe and found out later that perhaps, I don't know, you were lied to by the pharmaceutical companies who, on a technicality, this combined drug hasn't been studied, right, in pregnancy, but the individual ones may be a problem. I'm very sorry this has happened, but you really can't blame yourself for this. I actually, not advocating this, but there actually could be, liability lawsuits if you were actually advised this from a doctor. That's why those exist. Not saying that you should, and I get it. There's all kinds of frivolous lawsuits out there, but I wouldn't. In my opinion, it's not your fault. You have nothing to feel guilty about. And I know that's easy for me to say because I don't have to live with the condition that your child has, but it seems like they could live a long, full life. And the good news is, with medical advancements, I mean, it's only going to get more effective in treating this kind of condition, I would imagine. Okay. During my pregnancy, I was shuffled between a regular OBGYN, a maternal fetal medicine specialist, a genetics counselor, and a pediatric cardiologist. At different points, everyone but the pediatric cardiologist recommended I get an abortion, for which they would have to refer me out since they all worked at different Catholic hospitals. I live in a state where no questions asked. Abortion, time out of 24 weeks. After that point, you need a medical reason to do so. After saying no multiple times, the maternal fetal medicine doctor pushed for me to get an amniocentesis. Because of the heart and the fact that she was a little behind in growth. Amnios post their own risks, including but not limited to hemorrhage, preterm labor, infection, miscarriage, maternal death, and fetal abnormality. My daughter had enough problems, so once again, I said no. My in-laws then drove in from another state 4 hours away to try to persuade me to change my mind about getting an abortion, or at the very least, getting an amniocentesis. At this point, I was 22 weeks pregnant. I stood firm about not aborting her, but I did make an appointment for the test. I ended up canceling it a few hours later, and I'm incredibly grateful I did. After being put through the ringer of a million more doctor's appointments and tests, I gave birth to an otherwise healthy baby girl. She did 4 days in the NICU for observation, never even needed oxygen, and she had her first open heart surgery in October. She's 8 months old now, and if you didn't know about her heart condition, you would never know anything was amiss. Well, screw those people with a wire brush. How about that? Okay? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of blame to go around. You're not one of them in this case. Crying out loud, doctors say, when they say your body, your choice, and then doctors going, you want an abortion? You sure you want an abortion? You sure you don't want an abortion? Sure. I mean, you'd be well, in my opinion, I don't know if legally, well within your right to bitch slap said doctors at any point during this personal journey. I would fully support it. And I get a nurse. I feel awkward, true, and short-tempered anytime my husband's parents are around us. I understand asking me to take their picture with their beautiful granddaughter and wanting me to pump so they can feed her. I just can't get everything out of my head. These people wanted me to kill her. On top of that, I feel like my baby's life sentence is all my fault because I didn't quite do enough due diligence. Stop blaming yourself. It's not your fault. You have a baby that is largely healthy. And you know what? If you beat yourself up over it, you're not going to be focusing on taking care of that baby. It's wasted energy. I've quoted this from my favorite film, The Edge. You know why most people die in the woods? They die of shame. Spend all their time thinking about what they could have done, and so they die rather than do the one thing that would have saved their life. Thinking. In this case, thinking about your beautiful child. So I guess the option is, what would you do if you were me? How do I move forward? Okay, that was very long. That was not short. Next time I need highlights because I don't want to shortchange it, but we also have only so much time. I would... there are a few different ways you could move forward. Okay. Again, first off, this is not your fault. I would advise that you move on and take care of your child and do the best job you can. It sounds like you will. Second, item in order. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I guess a tube sock. You take a tube sock, fill it with quarters, and hit your in-laws in the face. Rolled up tube sock or tube sock and rolled up quarters. You ever see Death Wish with Charles Bronson?
Don't do that.
You wanted me to abort my baby. Clank. That's what I recommend. So I understand it. Look, they're probably stupid. They're probably like, and what I mean by that is ignorant liberals who don't think it's a life, and they thought they were doing the humane thing. And so, in their mind, it's two different things. Oh, it was a fetus, it wasn't a human being now, and now it's a human being, and they love the human being. They didn't care about the fetus. That's how they justify their evil actions. The left. Never mind the fact that it's the same DNA. Never mind the fact that it's the same child. It was just a smaller version of it, just like your child who's 5 now was 4 and was 3 and was 2. And if you want to talk about the physical location, okay, it was in the womb, all right, fine, but it was in the womb up until 2 hours before it came out. So none of their arguments hold water, but in their head, they detach themselves from the reality that it is the same child, toddler, infant, baby that just happened to be in that birth canal a couple hours later. So they don't see it that way.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself if there's forgiveness in your heart outside of that. How are they? Are they decent people? Do you think that they'll do anything to harm your child? Because it's important for a child to have a strong family, especially if they love their grandparents. And so I wouldn't put yourself in the middle of it if they love their grandparents, because then you're going to be the villain. A lot of people are ignorant. I just got to, as it relates to abortion, there are a lot of people who learn later on. And then there are just as many people who just go, la, 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 I can't hear you. And that's usually what they do, because the more we discover, the more we learn about science, and honestly, the way medical advancements have been trending, you're going to see babies born earlier and earlier. So they just have to shut themselves off and say something, my body, my right, my choice. So if that's the only sin that they've committed, it could be out of ignorance, and I wouldn't hold it against them for the rest of your life.
Right.
Because those children, or this child, and maybe you have other children, if they love their grandparents, you don't want to be the one stopping them from having a relationship with their grandparents, provided they're not doing something actively corrosive to that child.
Right. I agree. I mean, I would say that you can combine ignorance with being scared, right? They were probably pretty scared to hear that kind of news, probably saddened to hear that kind of news.
Sure they were.
And combine that with some ignorance on, abortion, and all of a sudden they're like, they don't want that for you. They don't want that for this child. Yeah, but the alternative's kind of worse. They didn't really connect those dots, right? The alternatives, we just give up and kill the child. So I think 100% you have to try to find forgiveness in your heart, because when we told you a minute ago to focus on the child and not some of the mistakes you've made, you also need to have the opportunity for them to be able to focus. And by the way, these are perceived mistakes you've made. I agree with Stephen. I don't think you made a mistake. You trusted the experts that told you what you could and couldn't do. But they've also made a mistake. And now they have a beautiful grandchild. And they want to enjoy that, it seems like, from what you've said. I would do everything in my power to forgive them and not put all of the blame from all the other doctors and other people who told you to do stuff on them as well. Don't put all of them in that same category, because if they're wonderful people otherwise and they're great grandparents, that is a very special relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And, you want to you want to foster that. You want to have that be nurtured, and you don't want to be just for your own personal benefit. You don't want to hold this animosity or any kind of grudge against them for a mistake that they made. And I don't even know, I would seek some conversation about it and say, hey, do you feel differently now that this has happened? Would you do anything differently back then if you feel like you really need to? But even if they don't, it just hurts you to be angry with them and to constantly mull it over in your head. So I just don't think it's a very beneficial thing, especially if it's an isolated incident. There's not a bunch of other issues that you've had as well. So, yeah. And that, man, gosh, you had a lot of, in today's age, right? Yeah. I think all of us in the room, if something like this is going on, we're doing everything we can and we're fighting for that baby. My wife and I have had conversations. If it comes down to me as a baby, it's the baby, right? Those kinds of things where we're willing to make those kinds of sacrifices. But that's not the population at large, typically. No. There's different levels to this. And so for you to make that stand against doctors, which can be very intimidating, and also make you feel like you're taking crazy pills, I'm just going to do what I want to do. Good for you. That's a lot more than just about everybody else in the kind of the general population would have done, because there were a lot of easier routes to take. Yep. And you chose life, and sometimes that's a hard route. And I know I just pronounced route and route.
That's okay. That's fine.
Different sentences, but that's
okay.
No,
I would say it's always worth fighting for the baby, unless it's Rosemary's.
It's true.
It's a very messed up film.
Very messed up.
The way it was sold to me was it's kind of scary. There's weird neighbors, and then I get to the end, I'm like, wait, is this happening? There's a Sesame Street Muppet, and it's a what? This is this film everyone talks about. I can't believe this is part of our cultural lexicon.
But it is
anyway.
Nonetheless.
Also, just to give you an idea, when I had knee surgery, I had a great doctor, and then they sent me home without pain pills in the middle of a snowstorm, by the way. And they were like,
Because I
once
paid them too. I'm so sorry.
I got home. They go, so take this every, whatever, 4 hours, 6 hours. I was like, take what? They go, the pain. I go, I don't have anything. They go, oh.
Yeah.
Well, we can't write it to a pharmacy. You have to come back, and it was 45 minutes away. Anyway, but they told me, they said, don't move for 2 weeks. Don't move keep your leg rested. And then when I spoke to the doctor 2 weeks later, he was like, so how has it been doing? I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, how's the mobility? I said, well, I was told not to move. He said, what?
Yeah.
I would have had you on the Airdyne bike like the next day. I said,
Yeah.
well, you could have told me. He's like, who told you that? And I think they got fired. So you trust them. They were very adamant. No knee flexion, they said. And so you get doctors sometimes sometimes they just disagree with each other. Sometimes they have a different approach, and sometimes they just suck. Seems to me like you did your due diligence, and yeah, it's important to do that, but anyone can get caught flat-footed. I mean, look, for proof, see the entire nation with ivermectin and the mRNA injection, right? You had a bunch of people going, oh, horse-paste, because they couldn't be bothered to do their own research. You had doctors out there saying it, and people saying, oh, the mRNA is a vaccine, which it's not, right? The entire nation got tricked because they trusted authority. You didn't. You questioned it in a way that seems pretty reasonable, and you still got caught. It does happen. It happens to me every day. That's why I've been admonished by it. All right, final one.
Okay, final one here.
I believe it's
Morning, Guru Crowder.
No, I read this. Oh, that's right. You read this. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. No, I thought it said Guru Morgan, but go ahead.
I love and hate you at the exact same time. Quite the
Mutual, I'm sure.
I want to start off saying how much I love watching the show, mostly Gerald, and appreciate everything y'all do. I'm sorry, I added that last part.
It's okay.
I am 25 and I've been married to my husband for almost 5 years, together for 10. He is 6 years older than me. We met at church as children. Growing up in the church, we started out on the same page. We both wanted to get married, have children, raise them in the church as well. Okay, sounds good. However, my husband was told at 19 that he had a heart defect and needed to have surgery. We thought for a while that everything would be fine, but recently he told me that it is worse than he was letting on. Ooh, that's no good. For the last year or so, I have been hinting and straight up asking him to think about starting a family, but he told me that he cannot think about having kids right now because he will probably have to have open heart surgery in 10 years and may not make it through. He says that he cannot wrap his head around potentially leaving a child fatherless that early in life, and he feels that it would be selfish to start. In 10 years, he will be 40. But that is obviously still too young in my mind to leave this world. He is upset that he will likely make me a widow soon in life, but I don't know how to get him to understand that God has it and everything will be okay regardless. I want children. I've always wanted to be a mother, and he knows this. I feel like we are moving in two different directions, but I also feel as though I cannot blame him. What do I do? I will be grateful for any advice from you or the team have for me. I have been struggling with this for a while now and feel unmoored. Thank you so much.
If I can take this one just right off the bat, first, if I appreciate, and this is well written, I appreciate the letter. Look, this is one of those scenarios where the left, they think they have a corner on empathy, and so they use it as an answer for everything. It's not. Sometimes it clouds judgment. In this case, though, this is someone you love who I bet you is genuinely scared. Because if this is his reasoning, it's not, oh, how could you bring children into the world when, global warming? This is a guy, I don't know the details, but if he's facing his very mortality, seems like this is a reason that it's a selfless reasoning where he's going, I don't want to bring a child into the world when I don't know if I don't want to create a fatherless household for a child. Now, it doesn't mean that it still can't be hashed out, but I would say, please do approach this with some empathy and understanding, because it sounds like a guy who's scared and a guy who's trying to do the right thing. And by the way, maybe there isn't necessarily a definitive right or wrong answer. Like, I could see the argument being made here as far as if I have a 50-50 shot of living, it would be irresponsible for me to bring a child in who I know won't have a father. And I can also see the reasoning behind, hey, I have to have faith and step out in faith, and this is important to you, so it's better to leave you with a piece of me, and let's pray for the best. I don't think that either are finding themselves in a pit of moral abyss. I honestly can understand both sides, but what I do know is this is the guy who's probably pretty scared, probably pretty rattled. If he's telling you the truth and he's been living with something a little worse and he's let on, that's not atypical of men. as much as women go, oh man, that's a cold, and women are tough. It's like the guy just wants to be taken care of because he wants you to show that you love him. Okay, we've built nations and gone out to war. You don't think anyone had colds in World War I trenches? But he's probably living with a lot of fear and chewing on it. And I think making sure that it seems like you love him, that he knows you love him, and that maybe explain to him if this is really important to you. Again, if assuming you're not being selfish, that hey, you'll cross that bridge when you get there, and you still would rather have a piece of him and a child together because he's the love of your life than not. That even in the face of the worst possible scenario, you'd still rather have that, and that you will take care of that, because a man feels like it's his responsibility again to protect and provide, and he doesn't know if he's physically going to be there. So I also think that he needs to have a lot of trust in you.
Yeah,
if he's going to be gone.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it does seem like you need to approach this very delicately, because this is a tough situation. I mean, he can. I think his logic is understandable, but I also would encourage him, like, hey, look, tomorrow is never guaranteed for any of us.
In your case, it's really not guaranteed.
Stop it with the height. You're like an inch shorter than me, maybe. So tomorrow's really never guaranteed. And as a husband and a father, you think about leaving people if something, God forbid, the worst thing happened. And, kids, and you hear stories about this. It definitely happens in life where, things happen. I mean, you could be Ukrainian and grow up in a place where, you lose people instantly to a war or something like that. You could be in a car accident. There's a lot of very difficult life situations that can come at you. And I would not let this one be the thing that stops you from having children and building a family, because for two reasons. One, you could be fine. You could have some difficult surgeries to have to go through, but you could be fine and make it through those. Two, you could end up dying at 10 years if that's something that you feel like, that's the prognosis that the doctor said you may not make it through the surgery, and there's a high likelihood of that. But you'll have 10 years of being able to sow into somebody who's going to bring you an immense amount of joy and happiness during those 10 years. Or you can live for 10 years just waiting and counting the days and not living life, essentially. So it's almost like it could potentially be a giving up on life moment for him in some ways. Now, it may not manifest in every single way. I mean, still get up, go to work, do things, go to ball games, whatever you do for fun. But I think life is going to be a lot better taking the risk. And I think if you approach it the way Stephen said, where you have a lot of empathy and understanding, and you're not telling him, like, you have to do this for me, but it's like, hey, I think we should just continue to live life as though we're going to be around, because that's really what you kind of have to do every single day anyway. Yeah. You really don't know. Now, you have something that's a little bit more of a marker out there going, hey, in about 10 years, you may have to have this surgery, and maybe I don't have that. But at the same time, we never really know what's going to happen. And if I live my life in fear of what tomorrow is going to bring, I'm never going to live today the way I should. So yeah, I would highly recommend.
I agree with everything.
295, 30, 18.
Beyond, how you will enjoy your life. I think this man maybe looking at this selflessly, thinking, okay, but what about the child? Let's say we have a kid in 2 years, or at 6 years old, loses his dad.
335.
I will say this: what you can do.
355, 30,
is he also probably is concerned about being very tired. He's also probably very concerned about other, not just death, but complications, right? Where what if he's an invalid? What if he doesn't have the energy because he's not pumping blood the way that he should? You can quell some of that by letting him know. I will tell you how long of a way it goes for a woman to tell a man, because most men never experience this, and when you do, it's shocking. You tell him, like, hey, just so you know, like, I'm going to be okay, and I've got this. I'm going to take care of it. Whatever happens to you, I can take care of this. I'm a big role, and I'm here. That's what I signed on for, taking care of you and taking care of this child. And I'm going to make sure that if something happens, and I don't think it will, and pray about it, that this boy or girl is going to know who their father was.
Yeah.
I will make sure of that. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about, we'll be there if you have to go through it in the hospital. Men often feel like they always have to be that protector and provider. And the truth is, no one is that at all moments in time. This goes back to what we talked about, this idea of duty. This man may be mixed up inside, but I see this stemming from a man who feels an obligation, a sense of duty that, well, it would be irresponsible for me to bring a child in the world and leave him fatherless, because he doesn't want to set a child up for failure. And I know that you love this man, and I also think there's a strong argument to be made, like Gerald said, but you might be setting this up right now in a dynamic of him on the side of duty and you on the side of emotion, what you've always done. Where if you approach it that way, he may be like, yeah, but you're being selfish. Because what about that kid not having a dad? So don't do that. Make sure you come at it from a place of understanding and empathy. And hey, look, if you make him feel confident, and that means between now and then, in other words, how confident is this guy going to be that his child is going to have a stable environment? I don't know. If that doesn't exist at home right now, I'm not saying that's the case, but it's the case in a lot of scenarios where they don't want to add to that complicated situation. Right? It's like Jordan Peterson says, make your bed. Right? As a woman, if you're in the make dinner, does he feel like when he comes home that you're on top of things where you can also add another responsibility? What if he's there filleted open in a hospital bed? If you do that, you approach it from understanding, love, and that he knows you've got this, and that child will know who their father is. You know what? Hey, we've seen crazier things. He might even make a more effective recovery. We're going to send you off here to Tim Pool. Keep watching through 4 p.m. and download the Rumble app. Follow us there. With Guru Crowder.
Alrighty, let's see what we can find here at the junkyard to fix. We got some up here on the stand already. Sorry, little sister's on her way over. Apparently, she went to Walmart and found a plush of the dog from Dogpool from Deadpool and Wolverine, and she said it was the only one she's seen in the store, so she bought it for me. Now I need to figure out where I want to put it and see if I want to put it somewhere in the house and just let my wife find it, or if I want to actually show it to her. It's an all-wheel drive car? We may have to check this thing out a little more. Yeah, quite a bit of the suspension parts need to be replaced, that's for sure. Oh, it's a Jaguar. Do we want a Jag? Ooh. I'm losing $2,000 just on buying it. So I'll have to make it up if I want to sell it or keep it. Can't swap the engine at all. You have to keep the engine. It's a little all-wheel drive car, though. Lots of repairs. Yeah, we'll buy it. Let's see what else Junkyard has in store for us today. See anything? Now, I don't know if you guys have seen this game before, but you can check all the little junk piles. And it's just something I don't feel like doing. The only thing I really find in them that's worth getting is a barn map. Anything else you can buy a new one or salvage off a car. There's a car. Looks like a little inline four in it. Standard version. Okay, here we go. I buy this car. I make about $1.5 off of this car. If I do just a little bit of work to it, and it'll offset how much I'm losing on the other car. I should have inspected it, but I'll do that later. Yeah, unfortunately, none of these cars you can check the junk piles, but you can't check any of the cars around here. Because some of these things would be nice to have. I wish they'd put some of these in the game for us to work on. I'd love to get a couple of them. I do have all the DLCs on this, so it's hard telling what we'll find. Only one car in the junk. Usually you find at least 3 cars in the junkyard. Oh, there's one. Ooh. That would be a pain to work on. I'm losing $2 on that one buying it. That's definitely something worth getting then. These engines are a pain to work on though. The reason why you inspect the vehicles like this, if you buy them or not, doesn't matter. What it does is gives you, this is one way to level up. You get 1 point for each item you inspect. I've already hit max level, so I've got everything I can unlock that way. Man, you can see the outline of this engine. So many parts are missing. You got that engine oil fill tube up here on the side. Nissan Fairlady. Make a couple $100 on it. A car like this one, if you're not wanting to keep it, you just take it to the car wash, clean the interior, maybe new body panels and new interior to it, and then offload it. Because you won't make much for the amount of time it would take you to fully restore this car. You're not going to make much on it. So unless you're planning on keeping it, it's not worth fully restoring. That Porsche might be. I don't remember if those things are worth fully restoring or not, but we'll wait to find out. What was that? 4 cars we picked up so far? Yeah, it looks like that's all the junkyard has for us today. Alright, that being all the cars for us. Yep. We will go back to the garage and check out what we got. So what other games would you guys be interested in seeing me play? Like, I've got all kinds of games on here, but I'm not sure what you guys would actually be interested in seeing. I've been playing a lot of SnowRunner, especially since the season 15 came out. Well, there's just not much to this car. It's in sad shape. All right, before I do this, we're making $152. You don't make any extra from doing the wash itself on the outside, but the inside interior you can make some. That's what, about 5 or so. The steering wheel out. Need seats and a steering wheel. Do the seats, steering wheel. Made a few $100 on that. Hit it with the welder. Get rid of all that rust. $1,200 for this, but it fully restores the body and frame. So we was at what? 27. Now we're up to almost $5,000. I think my little sister might be here. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, I'm back. My little sister brought me a plush dog pool. We're just gonna buy all the parts. We're not gonna go bother trying to fix the ones I pulled off because there's only a door, a fender, a mirror, and a bumper. And we'll buy 2 generic plates because we're not keeping this thing. Oops. Once I get this car put together, I'm gonna sell it, and then I'm gonna have to go for now. My wife just got home, and we need to figure out something for dinner. Normally, I would paint the car too, but you just end up losing money on that because it doesn't add value. You can also tint the windows, but again, it doesn't add value, so I just end up losing money on it. All right, we got her put back together. Let's see here. So we went from making $157, I think it was, to making 16,000. It's not bad. All right. Everyone, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next stream.